What if I told you that the deadliest animal on Earth isn't a shark, isn't a lion, isn't a snake, and isn't even close to what you're probably thinking right now? In fact, you've probably killed dozens of them. You might have one in your room right now. And every single year, this tiny creature kills more humans than every other animal combined. I'm talking about the mosquito. That little buzzing annoyance that you swat away without thinking is responsible for more human deaths than any other creature in history. We're talking about 725,000 deaths per year. That's roughly 2,000 people every single day. To put that in perspective, sharks kill about 10 people per year. Crocodiles kill about 1,000. Even humans killing other humans, which accounts for about 475,000 deaths annually from murder and war combined, doesn't come close to the devastation caused by mosquitoes. And here's what's wild. Mosquitoes themselves don't actually kill anyone. They're just the delivery system. They're nature's tiny hypodermic needles, injecting deadly diseases into billions of people every single year. Malaria, dengue fever, Zika, yellow fever, West Nile virus, and about a dozen other nightmare-inducing diseases that have shaped human history more than any war, famine, or natural disaster. So today, we're going to break down exactly why mosquitoes are so deadly, how they've influenced human civilization in ways you've never considered, and why, despite all our technology, we still can't eliminate them. By the end of this video, you'll never look at that annoying buzz the same way again. The perfect killing machine. Let's start with the most important question. Why are mosquitoes so good at killing us? First, understand that there are over 3,500 species of mosquitoes, but only about 200 of them bite humans. And of those 200, only the females bite. Male mosquitoes are actually harmless. They feed on nectar and plant juices. It's only the females that need blood, and they need it for a very specific reason: reproduction. Female mosquitoes require the proteins in blood to develop their eggs. Without a blood meal, they can't reproduce. So evolution has turned them into incredibly sophisticated blood-hunting machines. And when I say sophisticated, I mean it. The way mosquitoes find you is genuinely terrifying when you understand it. Mosquitoes can detect you from over 100 feet away. They're attracted to the carbon dioxide you exhale with every breath. They have specialized receptors that can sense CO2 concentrations in the air, and they follow that gradient right to your face. But that's just the long-range detection system. As they get closer, they switch to thermal imaging. They can detect the heat radiating from your body. They're particularly attracted to warm areas with high blood flow, which is why they love biting ankles, wrists, and your neck. These areas are warmer, and the blood vessels are closer to the surface. But wait, there's more. Mosquitoes are also attracted to lactic acid, uric acid, and ammonia, all compounds that humans excrete through sweat. So if you've been exercising and you're sweaty, you're basically a 5-star restaurant to a mosquito. They can smell you from dozens of feet away, track your heat signature, and home in on the CO2 you're breathing out. You never stood a chance. The silent bite. Now here's where it gets really interesting. When a mosquito lands on you, you usually don't feel it. They're incredibly light, about 2 to 2.5 milligrams. That's about the weight of a single grain of rice. Their landing is so gentle that your skin's pressure receptors often don't register it. And when they bite you, you usually don't feel that either. At least not immediately. A mosquito's mouth is actually a complex piece of biological engineering. It's not just a needle. It's called a proboscis, and it consists of 6 different parts working together. 2 of these parts are serrated like a saw, and they work back and forth to cut through your skin. Two others hold the skin open. One delivers saliva into the wound. And the final part is the actual drinking straw that sucks up your blood. The saliva is the critical part. Mosquito saliva contains anticoagulants that prevent your blood from clotting while they're feeding. It also contains proteins that suppress your immune response and act as a mild anesthetic, so you don't feel the bite immediately. It's only after the mosquito flies away that your immune system recognizes these foreign proteins and creates that itchy, swollen bump. But here's the nightmare part. It's that saliva that spreads disease. If a mosquito bites someone infected with malaria, dengue, or any number of other diseases, those pathogens enter the mosquito's body. They survive and multiply inside the mosquito. And then, when that mosquito bites its next victim, the saliva it injects contains thousands or millions of parasites or viruses. The mosquito isn't trying to kill you. It doesn't benefit from making you sick. It's just an incredibly efficient vector for disease transmission. It's accidentally become the deadliest animal on Earth simply by being really good at getting blood from multiple hosts. Malaria, the ancient killer. Let's talk about malaria specifically, because this is the big one. Malaria alone kills about 600,000 people every year. That's more than one person every minute, and it's been doing this for millennia. Malaria is caused by Plasmodium parasites, and the most deadly form is Plasmodium falciparum. When an infected mosquito bites you, it injects these parasites into your bloodstream. The parasites travel to your liver, where they multiply. Then they burst out of your liver cells and invade your red blood cells. Inside your red blood cells, they multiply again. Then they burst out, destroying the red blood cells and releasing thousands of new parasites into your bloodstream, where they invade more red blood cells. This cycle repeats every 48 to 72 hours, which is why malaria causes cyclical fevers. You feel fine, then terrible, then fine, then terrible, following the parasite's reproductive cycle. The symptoms are brutal: fever, chills, sweating, headache, muscle pain, fatigue, nausea, vomiting. In severe cases, it can cause organ failure, cerebral malaria, where parasites invade the brain, severe anemia, and death. Children under 5 are particularly vulnerable. Pregnant women are highly susceptible. And if you survive malaria, you can get it again and again. Immunity is only partial and temporary. Now here's what's absolutely insane. Malaria has killed so many humans for so long that it's actually shaped our evolution. Sickle cell disease, which is a genetic blood disorder, persists in populations because having one copy of the sickle cell gene provides protection against severe malaria. The gene causes problems with oxygen transport in red blood cells, but it also makes those cells inhospitable to Plasmodium parasites. This is natural selection in action. In regions where malaria is endemic, the survival advantage from malaria resistance outweighs the health problems caused by carrying one copy of the sickle cell gene. Malaria has been such a powerful evolutionary pressure that it's changed human genetics. That's how deadly and persistent this disease is. The other diseases. And malaria is just one of the diseases mosquitoes carry. Dengue fever infects about 400 million people every year. It causes severe flu-like symptoms, and in its severe form, dengue hemorrhagic fever, it causes bleeding, organ failure, and death. There's no specific treatment. You just have to ride it out and hope it doesn't progress to the hemorrhagic form. Zika virus made headlines a few years ago because it causes severe birth defects when pregnant women are infected. Babies born to infected mothers can have microcephaly, abnormally small heads, and incomplete brain development. The virus swept through the Americas, causing panic and devastating families. Yellow fever, which is named for the jaundice it causes, kills about 30,000 people per year, despite the existence of an effective vaccine. West Nile virus, chikungunya, Japanese encephalitis. The list goes on and on. Each of these diseases causes suffering and death, and each is transmitted by mosquitoes. Why we can't eliminate them? So why can't we just eliminate mosquitoes? We've eradicated smallpox. We've nearly eliminated polio. Why can't we get rid of mosquitoes? The answer is, we've tried. We've tried really, really hard. And we've had some success, but mosquitoes are incredibly resilient. In the mid-20th century, there was a massive global effort to eliminate malaria. The strategy was simple: kill the mosquitoes with DDT. DDT was a revolutionary insecticide. It was cheap, it was effective, and it persisted in the environment for long periods, providing lasting protection. Teams sprayed DDT inside homes, in wetlands, anywhere mosquitoes lived or bred. And it worked spectacularly. Malaria was eliminated from the United States, Europe, and many other regions. Global malaria rates plummeted. It looked like we might actually win. But then two things happened. First, we discovered that DDT had devastating environmental effects. It accumulated in the food chain, causing bird populations to crash, particularly predatory birds like eagles and hawks. The chemical thinned their eggshells, causing reproductive failure. Rachel Carson's book Silent Spring documented these effects, and DDT was eventually banned in most countries. Second, mosquitoes evolved resistance. With massive selective pressure from widespread DDT use, mosquitoes that had genetic mutations conferring resistance survived and reproduced. Within a few decades, DDT-resistant mosquito populations were widespread. The same story repeated with every new insecticide we developed. Mosquitoes evolved resistance faster than we could develop new chemicals. Modern solutions. Today we use a combination of strategies: insecticide-treated bed nets, indoor residual spraying with safer insecticides, draining standing water where mosquitoes breed, and anti-malarial medications. These approaches have reduced malaria deaths significantly, from over 800,000 per year in 2000 to about 600,000 today. That's a huge victory, but 600,000 deaths per year is still catastrophic. There are also some really creative approaches being developed. Scientists are breeding genetically modified mosquitoes that are sterile or that can't transmit diseases. The idea is to release millions of these modified mosquitoes into the wild, where they mate with wild mosquitoes and either reduce the population or replace disease-carrying populations with harmless ones. This has shown promise in trials, but it's controversial. There are concerns about unintended ecological consequences. What if eliminating mosquitoes disrupts food chains? What if the genetic modifications spread to other species? What if resistant mosquito populations emerge? Another approach is using bacteria called Wolbachia. When mosquitoes are infected with certain strains of Wolbachia, they become unable to transmit viruses like dengue and Zika. Scientists breed Wolbachia-infected mosquitoes and release them. When they mate with wild mosquitoes, the Wolbachia spreads through the population, creating a self-sustaining barrier to virus transmission. This is already being deployed in several countries, with encouraging results. There's also a malaria vaccine that was recently approved. It's not perfect. It provides only about 30 to 40% protection, but in high transmission areas, even partial protection can save thousands of lives. It's a start. The unstoppable survivor. But here's the thing. Even with all these interventions, mosquitoes aren't going anywhere. They're too numerous, too widespread, too adaptable. There are quadrillions of mosquitoes on Earth. They live on every continent except Antarctica. They breed in any standing water, puddles, flower pots, discarded tires, tree holes. A single female can lay hundreds of eggs, and those eggs can hatch in as little as 48 hours. Mosquitoes have survived every extinction event for the past 100 million years. They survived the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. They've survived ice ages and climate changes. They're one of the most successful organisms in Earth's history. And as climate change creates warmer, wetter conditions in new regions, mosquito ranges are expanding. Diseases that were once confined to tropical regions are spreading. Dengue is now found in southern Europe. Zika reached the United States. Malaria could return to regions where it was eliminated decades ago. Protecting yourself. So what's the takeaway here? Mosquitoes are the deadliest animal on Earth, and they're probably going to keep that title for the foreseeable future. But that doesn't mean we're helpless. If you live in or travel to areas with mosquito-borne diseases, use protection. Sleep under insecticide-treated bed nets. Use insect repellent containing DEET, picaridin, or oil of lemon eucalyptus. Wear long sleeves and pants at dawn and dusk when mosquitoes are most active. Eliminate standing water around your home where mosquitoes breed. If you're traveling to malaria-endemic areas, take anti-malarial medication. Get vaccinated against yellow fever and Japanese encephalitis if you're going to regions where they're prevalent. And support global health efforts to combat mosquito-borne diseases. Organizations like the Global Fund, the WHO, and the Gates Foundation are doing incredible work, distributing bed nets, developing new treatments, and researching elimination strategies. These efforts save millions of lives, but they need funding and political support. The reality check. Here's something most people don't realize. You're statistically more likely to die from a mosquito bite than from almost anything else you worry about. Plane crashes, terrorist attacks, shark attacks, lightning strikes. Mosquitoes kill more people than all of these combined by orders of magnitude. And yet, most people in wealthy countries never think about mosquitoes as a serious threat because we've largely eliminated mosquito-borne diseases through public health infrastructure, widespread screens on windows, air conditioning, and environmental management. But billions of people don't have these protections. The global burden of mosquito-borne disease is a massive injustice. The people who suffer most are those who can least afford protection and treatment. Children in sub-Saharan Africa dying from malaria aren't dying because the disease is unstoppable. We have the tools to prevent and treat it. They're dying because of poverty, lack of healthcare access, and insufficient global investment in solutions. Mosquitoes and human history. Let me give you some perspective on just how much mosquitoes have shaped human history. Historians estimate that malaria has killed more humans than any other single cause in history. We're talking about half of all humans who have ever lived. Let that sink in. Of the roughly 100 billion humans who have existed, malaria might have killed 50 billion of them. Mosquitoes have decided the outcome of wars. When European colonizers tried to settle in Africa, in tropical regions, they died in massive numbers from malaria and yellow fever. These diseases were so deadly that parts of Africa were called the white man's grave. Entire colonial expeditions were wiped out. This disease barrier actually protected African populations from colonization for centuries longer than would have otherwise been possible. The construction of the Panama Canal was delayed for years because yellow fever killed thousands of workers. It wasn't until mosquito control measures were implemented that construction could proceed. The US Civil War saw more soldiers die from malaria than from combat in some campaigns. Alexander the Great might have died from malaria. So might have Genghis Khan. Even in modern times, mosquitoes affect where people can live, where cities can grow, and how societies develop. There's a reason many major cities are built in cooler climates or coastal areas, where mosquitoes are less prevalent. There's a reason tropical development has historically lagged behind temperate regions. Mosquitoes are part of that equation. Their ecological role. Now let's talk about something fascinating. Why do mosquitoes even exist? What's their ecological purpose? This is a question people ask all the time. If mosquitoes are so terrible, why don't we just eliminate them entirely? What would happen? The answer is complicated. Mosquitoes, despite being deadly to humans, play important roles in ecosystems. Mosquito larvae are a crucial food source for fish, amphibians, and aquatic insects. Adult mosquitoes are eaten by bats, birds, dragonflies, and spiders. In some Arctic and subarctic ecosystems, the massive seasonal emergence of mosquitoes provides critical nutrition for migratory birds. Male mosquitoes, which feed on nectar, are pollinators. They're not as efficient as bees, but they do contribute to pollinating some plant species, particularly in the Arctic, where they're among the most abundant pollinators. But here's the controversial take. Many ecologists believe that eliminating mosquitoes, or at least the species that transmit human diseases, would not cause major ecological collapse. Other insects would likely fill their niche. The food chain impacts would probably be minimal, because animals that eat mosquitoes also eat many other insects. The species we'd most want to eliminate are specifically the ones that bite humans and transmit diseases. We're talking about maybe 20 to 30 species out of 3,500. Eliminating those wouldn't eliminate mosquitoes as a whole, just the most dangerous ones. But even if we could do this without ecological consequences, there are ethical and practical questions. Do we have the right to drive species to extinction, even harmful ones? What are the risks of unintended consequences? What if our models are wrong and eliminating these species does cause ecological problems? These aren't easy questions, but they're worth asking because the death toll from mosquito-borne diseases is so catastrophic. 100 million years of survival. Here's another mind-blowing fact. Mosquitoes have been around for at least 100 million years. We've found mosquito fossils from the Cretaceous period. Mosquitoes were buzzing around dinosaurs. They've survived every mass extinction event. They've adapted to every climate and every continent except Antarctica. And they're adapting to our interventions. Urban mosquitoes have evolved to breed in artificial containers, bottles, cans, tires. They've evolved to be active during the day instead of at dawn and dusk to avoid indoor spraying. Some species have evolved to prefer human blood over animal blood because humans are more abundant and accessible in urban environments. The evolutionary arms race between humans and mosquitoes has been going on for our entire existence as a species, and mosquitoes are winning. We've gotten better at protecting ourselves, but they've gotten better at exploiting us. The final perspective. Let me leave you with one final thought that really puts this in perspective. Every year, mosquitoes kill roughly 725,000 people. That's the equivalent of 5 fully loaded Boeing 747s crashing every single day and killing everyone on board. Imagine if that was actually happening. Imagine if 5 passenger planes crashed daily. There would be global panic, massive investigations. Aviation would probably be shut down. But because mosquito deaths happen one at a time, mostly in poor countries, mostly to children, We don't react the same way. There's no 24/7 news coverage. There's no emergency global mobilization. It's just statistics. And statistics don't generate the same emotional response as a visible catastrophe. But those statistics represent real people. Children who never got to grow up, parents who lost kids, communities devastated by disease. And unlike plane crashes or natural disasters, these deaths are largely preventable with existing technology and interventions. So the next time you swat a mosquito, remember, you just killed a member of the deadliest group of animals in Earth's history, a creature responsible for more human deaths than any other organism, including other humans. A creature that's shaped our evolution, influenced the rise and fall of civilizations, and continues to kill thousands of people every single day. And maybe, just maybe, you'll appreciate the public health infrastructure that keeps you safe from these tiny terrors. Because in much of the world, that annoying buzz isn't just an inconvenience, it's a death sentence. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay curious, and maybe invest in some mosquito repellent.